He's back! Challenging and exhilarating times await Harry Potter as he returns to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is the eagerly awaited fourth film adaptation in J.K. Rowling's phenomenally successful series, and looks set to smash more box office records. Now, the world behind the scenes of the Harry Potter movies has always been a really closely guarded secret. Until now, that is. For the first time ever, the film's producers have invited TV cameras into that world. But not any old cameras, just ours. Which means that we get to go behind the scenes to see stuff that no one in the world has seen before. Which, if you ask me, is pretty exciting. So, this is where it all happens. Over there, the glamorous hotspot of Watford, and over here, Leavesden Studios. It doesn't look like much from the outside. Just a drafty old aircraft hangar with some peeling paint, the odd missing tile, but inside, it's a very different story. All sorts of weird and wonderful things are going on in there. There's flying broomsticks, there's fire-breathing dragons, there's mermaids, and of course, some hardcore magic. Believe it or not, this place is home to a global phenomenon. We'll be taking a look behind the magic of some of the most breathtaking and heart-stopping scenes in movie history. Following Daniel Radcliffe's grueling training for the most incredible underwater sequence, meeting the design and visual effects teams who bring these mind-blowing ideas to life, and finding out what happens when Harry comes face to face with a vicious fire-breathing dragon. But first, I need to get inside. Amongst all this fantastic set is the portkey. It's an object that transports wizards from one place to another at a pre-arranged time. This is the very thing. Now, of course, I'm not a wizard, so you're just going to have to excuse a bit of good old-fashioned TV trickery. I can't believe that worked. We're actually here. I'm actually inside the office of esteemed Hogwarts headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. It is just awesome. Look at the paintings. Hedwig's here, keeping an eye on us, guarding the big man's desk. I've got to try his chair, haven't I? What do you reckon? Gonna sit down. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I could get very used to this. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is another Potter epic. The story starts at the Quidditch World Cup, but the excitement of the occasion is destroyed when a group of Voldemort's most loyal and faithful supporters attack the event's campsite. This can only mean one thing. Voldemort is gaining in strength and grave danger is lurking in the wizarding world. Back at Hogwarts, the students discover that this school year will be very different.
Hogwarts has been chosen to host a legendary event, the Tri-Wizard Tournament.
Two schools will be joining Hogwarts in the tournament, the sophisticated and graceful Beauxbatons and the stoical young men of the Durmstrang Institute. From each of the three schools, a single student is chosen by the Goblet of Fire to take part in a series of dangerous magical contests. And because of this danger, contestants must be over 17 years old.
One of the totally unexpected things that does happen, however, is that Harry's name is pulled out of the Goblet of Fire when he's A, underage, and B, he didn't even submit his name.
Harry Potter! You put your name in the Goblet of Fire.
And so he's entered in this tournament and he doesn't know who by.
And of course he is lying.
The hell he is!
And it transpires that whoever entered him in the tournament had a kind of entirely a sinister motive in doing so.
The Goblet of Fire is an exceptionally powerful magical object. Only an exceptionally powerful confunded charm could have hoodwinked it. Magic way beyond the talents of a fourth year.
And so the whole film is, it's about Harry trying to find out who that is while competing in the tournament. And also I think it's about the fact that Harry's life is no longer in his control as he would like it to be in this film.
I didn't put my name in that cup. I don't want eternal glory. I just want to be... Look, I don't know what happened tonight, and I don't know why. It just did. Okay?
The film's taken over a year to make and involved more than 1,000 people in its production.
Action.
But how do you go about turning a book that's over 600 pages long into this?
It is a challenge, absolutely. I mean, the books are not getting shorter. The fourth book is the longest book of all.
The book is that thick. The book is nearly twice as long as any of the other books. What you have to be able to do is to see a way of compressing this huge book into the compass of a movie. So I read the book very carefully with that in mind, and felt that there was a way of doing it if you were to think of it as a thriller.
The journey is Harry's journey. He is our central character. And what we have ultimately done is cast aside, or put aside for the moment, anything that doesn't relate to Harry and Harry's journey. That's not to say there aren't subplots and other things that come in, but at its heart, it is Harry's film.
The films leave out a lot, they do. And there are all sorts of little touches and little conversations, and if you put them all in, it would be a 17-hour film.
The approach that I take is to make a film that I will love, that as a fan of the books, that I will love. And I think everybody who works on the films shares that passion and feels that way. And if we collectively make a film that we love, then we're being responsible to the audience.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire sees a host of new characters, and for the first time in full human form, Harry's arch-enemy Voldemort. But there's another new enemy to battle in this film: hormones.
Well, I suppose we're all sort of growing up now, and it's more of that, like, who you going to ask for this ball thing.
Check it out. Daniel's on set. Harry Potter himself is actually here. This is the big scene. They're about to go for a take where Harry actually asks a child to the ball.
Action!
Harry meets this girl, Jo. Well, he kind of, I say meet, he stares vacantly at her and giggles like a moron. And, which I could do very well.
Watch yourself on the stairs. It's a bit icy at the top.
Okay, thanks.
They're just getting beyond the stage where it's giggles, you know, where somebody's kissing someone, someone's holding a hand. There's most certainly still a lot of note passing and a lot of going on, and a lot of, you know, so-and-so's with so-and-so, you know, a lot of little dramas, little stories taking place on the set or behind the scenes, none of which I'm going to talk about now. But I think, truthfully, they're each entering a stage where they are aware of the opposite sex.
Well, Hermione, you're a girl.
You know, most heroes in films are always get the girl, and it's great because he doesn't. And sorry, well, he might do. You've seen the film.
After the break, see the amazing transformation of the Great Hall into a sparkling winter wonderland. We unleash the secrets behind this incredible fire-breathing dragon and find out who is going out with who. Yeah, I think it quite suits me. Oh, I could do without the headache, though. I'll see you after the break. Hi, welcome back. We're at Leavesden Studios, where they're filming Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, going behind the magic of this mega movie. In a moment, we'll see how they pulled off this amazing dragon chase. But first, I'm having a nose round Hogwarts. This library set is brand new for the Goblet of Fire, and there's over 7,000 books on the shelves here and in these stacks. 2,500, they're made from polystyrene. The other 4,500 are recycled from other films, and loads of them are actually old phone books. But it's the attention to detail that I find so incredible. Have a look at this. This is a Quidditch World Cup programme, and the detailing side is incredible. They've got sponsorship, they've got team news, and it's never going to be seen up close on the film. It is just mind-boggling. I think I found myself my first souvenir. This stuff is made from plaster and fiberglass, but it looks and it feels just like stone. Behind Dumbledore's desk is a room that has never been filmed in, and yet it's been dressed with as much care as any other part of the set. It all just goes together to make it feel so real, even though when you stood here, you know on just the other side there's a load of scaffolding holding it all up. But the sets aren't the only thing that's realistic here. As
part of the Tri-Wizard tournament, each of the competitors has to retrieve one of these, a golden egg from a vicious fire-breathing dragon. Only one small detail, fire-breathing dragons. They don't exist, do they?
Of course they don't. But for creature effects supervisor Nick Dudman, it's just another day at the office.
This is a hard fiberglass version, like this. This is made so that we can scan it, and the visual effects house producing the CG, or digital dragon, will have this to work from as its datum, so that this is the object that locks the colour, the sculpt, the shape, the tone, the translucency, everything. So this actual dragon head doesn't itself appear in the film. It's merely the object from which all the computer information is taken.
What I try to bring to it is the physics of actually how to make these things move. Because it's one thing when we get artwork, which is beautiful in its own right, but it's another thing to actually create the moving images that you ultimately see up on the screen. The huge arena that he first encounters, the Horntail, was built on the back lot, but we made it look like it was placed up in the Highlands of Scotland. The funny thing about the dragon sequence is just the iterations we went through to make something pretty heart-stopping, and I think we realized that through this huge chase that takes place in Hogwarts. We had to realize a lot of the caverns and twists and turns with the computer imagery, which was, I believe, the first time we've sort of done a computer version of Hogwarts.
Stuff like the dragon sequence.
3, 2, 1, go!
That should look brilliant.
Have you got used to acting when there's nothing there? You know, sort of acting to a dot or acting to something that's going to get put on afterwards?
Yeah, I suppose I have, really. I mean, because also it wasn't even much getting used to it involved, because I started at about 10, I think, 10 or 11, doing that kind of stuff where the other actor or the other creature isn't there. It's kind of all I've ever known.
Did you or did you not put your name into the Goblet of Fire? No.
But some of the other actors, like Miranda Richardson, who plays journalist Rita Skeeter, need to draw on their experience.
I mean, it's what we trained for God's sake.
Just ignore the quill. Because you're no ordinary boy of 12, are you?
14.
Story's legend. Do you think it was the trauma of your past that made you so keen to enter such a dangerous tournament?
No, I didn't enter.
Of course you didn't.
There was a whole load of us during the dragon tournament, sitting looking at a green screen and a man with a tennis ball going, and look at this now, and no dragon is coming down here now, and now we're here, and we have sort of like a sort of choreographed fireworks competition, you know, ooh, ah, ooh, dark.
Young love.
Rita is prone to getting the wrong end of the stick. But this is a film with some love stuff. She's just looking in the wrong place.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was just wondering if maybe you wanted to go to the ball with me.
Katie!
Newcomer Katie Leung plays the part of Cho Chang, Harry's love interest.
So you're set to be the envy of millions of girls around the world.
I'm quite scared about that.
Great. Can we just look at it back, please?
It's just so magical. Like, you feel like you're in a dream, really, because, you know, obviously this kind of thing doesn't happen in real life.
Harry, I'm sorry, but someone's already asked me.
I like Harry in this way because he's sort of like Spider-Man.
Hi, Harry.
Well, he's like Peter Parker because he is a hero. He is brave and strong and courageous and loyal and brilliant person. Rubbish with girls. Which is fantastic because he's not like an archetypal superhero who are always brilliant with girls and they're always just great. And Harry was great. He doesn't get the girl in this, which is fantastic, really.
No problem. Okay, good.
Harry!
But Harry, he does have really strong feelings for Chloe, even though he doesn't know her very well. He kind of has those conversations where you go, yeah, so how are you? Yeah. And then you have nothing else to say. And so it's very sweet, and I think it's quite an endearing part of Harry.
But it's not just Harry who has to find himself a date.
Wait, Hermione? You're a girl.
You're well spotted.
Can't we run away? Oh.
Come on. It's one thing for a bloke to show up alone. For a girl, it's just sad.
I won't be going alone because, believe it or not, someone's asked me.
And the reason for all this hormone-fueled activity is the Yule Ball.
And I said yes.
I would have to say my favourite scene would be the Yule Ball, which was just so much fun.
The Yule Ball is first and foremost a dance.
A dance which provided a minor challenge for designer Stuart Craig, who was required to transform the Great Hall into a winter wonderland.
We have seen the Great Hall at Hogwarts so often now, and this had to be special. Lots of these things are driven just by practicalities, really. What can you physically do that would really open everybody's eyes? We found a fabric. I think that was the first thing. We found a fabric which is like lurex, a silver lurex, but was highly reflective, really, really mirror-like in its reflection. And so we decided that we would cover every inch of the Great Hall with this highly reflective silver fabric, which we did.
And God knows how long it took them, but I walked in, it was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Then, of course, it becomes a nightmare to light because you get reflections everywhere. But they must have spent weeks and weeks doing it.
In fact, it took 90 people over 4 weeks to complete.
Just really quite totally magical, you know.
But it wasn't a magical evening for everyone.
We always thought of the ball as the fourth task because the ball is where all of these emotional pigeons come home to roost.
Harry and Ron, they've been desperate to find dates, and they've been so conscious of they've got to find dates and they've got to get the ball, they've got to have a great time. They get there and they kind of sit there going, oh, it's awful. And it is awful because they have a horrible time.
And you watch them kind of groping about. Perhaps I should rephrase that.
They don't know what to say, they don't know what to do.
You watch them trying to discover just how to do very basic stuff.
Harry's not with there with the person that he wanted to be. That Ron's like an idiot in his stupid, how's the band going, man, kind of outfit.
Hermione has had rather more success. Her date for the evening is Durmstrang Triwizard champion, Victor Crumb.
Hermione falls for Victor in a big way, doesn't she? And I think it's his muscles particularly that she likes.
Well, it's not just the muscles, really.
I don't think she can quite believe that he's looking at her, so she just dismisses it. And then it suddenly starts to hit home that can't quite be coincidence that he's been looking at her for this long and so often.
They hint each other during the film, and then later on we see them come together.
And then Ron gets extremely jealous.
Is that Hermione Granger with Victor Crumb?
No, absolutely not. Ron, he was so sort of like cross and sort of jealous that he was miserable all the way through.
Victor's gone to get drinks. Would you care to join us?
No, we would not care to join you and Victor.
Hermione gets very upset and they have a big argument.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Because as readers and as viewers,
yes,
we know that there's something that's unsaid between Ron and Hermione. And are they ever going to get it on?
I hope so anyway. I think it's a very sweet relationship that they have. It's a real love-hate thing. And it's one of those things that girls realise after a couple of years that guys always tease the ones that they like. And I think maybe that will hit home with Hermione one day.
What's with the flower? Hagrid, have you combed your hair?
And Cupid is also firing an arrow in Hagrid's direction.
He meets Madame Maxine, Olympe Maxine, who is also a half-giant, is the same height as him. In fact, she's taller. He's 8'6". She's 10 feet in her high heels, which she wears, which is just brilliant. 10 foot tall in her high heels, 9'6" without them.
Blimey, that's one big woman.
And he just falls completely madly in love with her. And she's not interested in him because he's a big hairy ruffian and she's very sophisticated, you know. The idea was that an 8'6" giant and a 10-foot giantess would go onto the floor and dance incredibly well and smoothly, you know. I mean, the obvious thing would be for them to crash into things and knock everybody over. But far nicer, far funnier, really, to have them incredibly smooth. And they're of course, doing sort of ballroom-type dancing while everyone else is doing whatever the cool thing was at Hogwarts.
Whatever that cool thing was, the students needed a helping hand before they stepped onto the dance floor.
Now, place your right hand on my waist.
Where?
My waist. And extend your arm. Mr. Felch, if you please. 1, 2, 3, 1.
You got to learn to waltz.
I did,
What was that like?
It was amazing. We had 4 or 5 dancing lessons with a
And were you all in
fantastic
there?
teacher. Oh yeah, we were all in there doing it. I mean, I love dancing anyway. Some of us had more experience than others, and it was
Are you saying that the
so
boys were
funny.
rubbish?
No, well, not all
That's
of the boys
what
were
you're
rubbish.
getting at,
Though,
isn't it?
actually, the ones that you'd expect would have been good at it. You know, it was the really quiet ones that you suddenly turned around and thought, wow, check you out.
The other thing that was very nice is seeing all those little slobs in their fine duds. All the girls are in elegant little dresses and the guys are all got ties on.
Hello, boys. Don't you look dashing?
It was kind of like a big occasion, just because they'd never been sort of dressed up like that. There's never been an occasion like that in any of the books, where they were actually socialising and having a ball, literally.
While they're all at the ball, I might just sneak off on a secret mission. Now, the prop store here at the studios is the most alarmed building on site, but fortunately, I've managed to find the keys. So we can go and have a look. You can find everything magical and mystical in here. Broomsticks, rats, magic potions.
Wow, look! It's a wand! Of course, these things don't actually work. Oh, they do.
After the break, Daniel pushes his body to the limits in this phenomenal underwater sequence. How on earth did they do that? Welcome back. We are behind the magic of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and things have become decidedly damp.
Having completed the first stage of the Tri-Wizard tournament, things really step up a gear as the competitors battle to win this. Ugh! As if fighting dragons wasn't bad enough, this time they're going to have to rescue someone they would sorely miss from the bottom of a very deep lake. Now, you can do pretty impressive things with special effects these days, but the best way to make it look like someone's swimming underwater fighting mermaids and sharks is to get them to do just that. Come on, put this down now. Oh.
Okay, I was joking about really fighting mermaids and sharks, but for this scene, some intensive work was required.
Last night, something was stolen from each of our champions. A treasure of sorts. These 4 treasures, one for each champion, now lie on the bottom of the Black Lake. In order to win, each champion need only find their treasure and return to the surface. Simple enough.
Put that in your mouth.
Except for this, they will have but 1 hour to do so, and 1 hour only. After that, they'll be on their own. No magic will save them. You may begin at the sound of the cannon.
Of all the things was, how are we going to do this? It's a huge undertaking because it's a scene that takes place entirely underwater.
Doing it dry meant you had to hang Harry upside down so the hair would fall down, strap him in this terrible machine, and he had no flowing movement at all.
But we didn't feel that was right because you didn't get this slowness of motion, of hair.
This was the only way to go.
Then we had to build a tank, not insubstantial tank. It's huge.
In fact, it's the largest in Europe.
Basically, it's 60 feet square, 20 feet deep. It holds 500,000 gallons of water, 4.5 million litres.
And then we had to train Dan to swim underwater.
I trained for about 6 months before to try and look as natural as I could underwater, because Harry's supposed to become a fish, essentially, because he grows gills and webbed hands and things.
And then Dan had to act underwater. Now, it's difficult enough acting in any way, but to act underwater is an amazing thing. And Not just Dan, by the way. There were 3 other kids too who had to do it. But Dan more than all of them, obviously.
I have the mask on and the DV in my mouth, and basically they count down 3, 2. On 3, I'd blow all the air that I could out of my lungs, and then on about 1 or breather out, I'd take as deep breath in as I could, and then just shut the DV away.
And it meant time you'd done all those things. It was usually about 15 or 20 seconds acting time.
Acting how well? I don't know. I like to think I did okay, but I'm not. I just can't be certain. Either way, to act badly underwater's hard, because you're underwater.
I've seen some of it, Daniel.
Have you?
I can't tell you how impressed I was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Really, really impressed.
A state-of-the-art filtration system kept chlorine levels to a minimum, which was not only kinder on the actors' eyes, but ensured the water was crystal clear, something essential to the filmmakers. In fact, it was purer than mineral water. But that's not all.
I understand that there was some sort of dry room or some place where the actors could go to save them having to come up to the surface.
Yeah, there was what we called an underwater habitat, which was a small Wendy house, for want of a better term, which had a little window in it and a little chimney where we could pump air down into it constantly, so we kept the air inside it monitored and pure.
It was sort of like a very low-budget version of the Big Brother diary room. And basically you go onto there and it's a dry place. My instant reaction was one of complete, I became 5 years old again, and I was going, but it's dry in here and it's
underwater
out there.
He's going to be in the habitat 15. Leave the clock ticking.
Dan was such a sport. But of all the things he's done, I think this was the toughest. At the end of each day, he was like, while he was doing that, he was studying for his GCSEs.
So how much time were you actually underwater?
Coincidentally, I do actually
that's
have...
how the magicians do it.
Yeah,
they
just hide behind cushions and things.
It's not
very impressive. No. This was actually the stunt department's Christmas present to me. Professional diver's daily record, inland, inshore.
So this is actually like a log?
Yeah, basically it's a logbook. Every time I go down, they have to write in what time I go down, what time I come up, and how long I spent underwater. In every day I could do up to 3 hours underwater. They counted up how long I actually spent underwater in total, and over the 3 weeks we were filming for, about 41 hours and 38 minutes underwater.
41 hours and 38 minutes in 3 weeks?
Yeah, so very pleased with that.
2,483 minutes?
Yes.
That's an awesome amount.
I'm really proud. I'm very, very proud of that.
But not everyone took to it like a fish to water. Stanislav Janevsky, who plays Durmstrang champion Victor Krum, had to overcome his biggest fear.
Well, I used to have fear from deep water. Anything that I couldn't get my feet on. I had to learn how to go down, all the way down, and take everything off and put it back on and do different stunts and spins and everything. So
what was that like?
Well, at the beginning, it was extremely, I don't know, I was sort of scared.
I would imagine.
When you're breathing that oxygen underwater, and when you breathe it too fast and too heavily, you sort of
get lightheaded.
Yeah, you get lightheaded when you come out. So I got that once, and I just couldn't clear my mask at the beginning. I would just stop, and then it refills. Used to get refilled with water, and then again and again. It was just difficult. But then once I trained in the shower, I said I must get used to water. Just.
So you stood in the shower with it on your head?
Yeah, I was training myself in the bath and everything, and then the next time I went in the tank, I just couldn't do it.
And Robert Pattinson, who plays Cedric Diggory, one of the Hogwarts champions, found the experience somewhat disorientating.
You can't see anything. All the divers who give you your breathing apparatus, they're all dressed in blue scuba suits, and so you're completely blinded by the chlorine. And so you're sort of floating around and doing your thing, and then someone says cut, and you get a thing shoved in your mouth from nowhere.
I don't actually have to do any acting because I'm actually not asleep, but I'm not quite with it until I come back up to the top. So I just have to splutter around a bit and swim to the edge. But apart from that, I don't really have to do that much.
In fact, the part of Hermione in this scene is largely played by a dummy.
We have 4 principal characters who spend most of their time in the sequence completely anchored underwater, so you can't use real people. Therefore, you have to make dummies. We have Hermione and Gabrielle here, who are silicon dummies designed with chambers inside them, so we can send them up and bring them down with buoyancy chambers, just like a submarine does. And their movements are controlled by what we call aquatronics, where we're pumping water through air rams inside them, so that there's nothing electronic under the water at all. We also had to put gills on Harry and flippers on Harry, webbed hands. That took a lot of practice. Whenever you do a makeup that's on an actor, you're dealing with a huge number of problems already. The minute you go underwater with that, you're into quite a whole set of problems. Like, actor with webbed hands has to be able to hold a regulator in his mouth, you know, to put in his mouth between takes, and the hand mustn't interfere with the safety aspect of him being able to do that. Likewise, if he's got gills on, they mustn't get damaged if he has to put a mask on and off. Flippers, how do you get him to the pool, out of the pool, you know? Those things, they're all practical considerations. And then you have to persuade the actor to actually tolerate all of this.
Dan, that was really good. Let's do exactly the same as that last one, but this time, do not say the line, just think it.
In total, the team spent 6 weeks filming the underwater material, but that was only part of the story.
It was still, you know, a lot of work ahead of us, because all we were doing in the tank was swimming these people around. Of course, there was no mermaids in there, there was no grindelows. But once we'd shot all this stuff, it was a matter of taking all this footage that had been shot and reimagining all the camera movements that we did, but putting it into the context of being 500 feet underwater, this huge kelp bed that Harry has to swim through, and then the ruins where he has to rescue the different victims.
Daniel was filmed sort of fighting nothing, largely, underwater. We then had to choreograph through all the shots, scores of grindelows attacking him, wrapping their tentacles around him, try and make it look as though he had, you know, he was actually being pulled rather than he was just sort of feigning being pulled, and get some interaction on his skin and shadows and hair movement, and even at one point just made his glasses wobble around so that it felt as though he was being attacked. And we had a huge number of creatures. I mean, you know, even a few years ago, just creating one creature like this in a shot was hard work and was pushing the boundaries of what computers could do. And in some of these shots, we have hundreds of creatures, and to try and wrangle those in a scene and make them all work together to make the drama of the shot has been quite hard work, but we're very pleased with the results. Most of the shots we work on, he was shot in the blue screen tank, but there's a few shots where the performance was impossible for a human being to do, or sometimes where it was impossible to get the camera to do what the camera needed to do. And in those shots, we've created a computer-generated Daniel, or computer-generated other characters to put into the shots.
For example, I think this shot here.
This shot here, where he leaps out of the water, this sequence here. Obviously, that's physically impossible, short of firing him out of a cannon.
At 500 feet, water is pretty murky, so muddying up the clarity of every single shot was something else the team had to do.
Making these sort of shots successful is all in the detail. It's getting the play of the light that you get, where it's not sort of a static light like it is above water. There's all the ripples and the caustics. There's the grunk floating around in the water. There's the diffusion of light as things get further away, everything gets foggier. We have to add all of this, and we even go to the trouble of adding the imperfections that you get with underwater cameras. Underwater cameras aren't as clear as above water cameras, so we've analysed, you know, what happens with underwater cameras, and we add those to some of our images.
But he's my friend Plymouth.
Only one.
It's been done before. I mean, in the sense that people have shot underwater, obviously, and they've even done blue screen. But I don't think to the extent that we did it on here. I mean, we've created this whole 8-minute sequence that, you know, there's not one shot in there that wasn't blue screen, and that we had to recreate the whole environment. Every shot in that sequence is realized through computer animation, both not just the underwater, in fact, but the above water too, where we created these elaborate Victorian dive stands from Stewart's designs, and we put them up in this loch in Scotland, and we never went up to Scotland once with the cast and crew for any of the footage that you see in the movies.
Visual effects on this scene alone took a total of 18 months to complete. But before we pull the plug on it, Daniel has something up his sleeve for me.
I think you should have a go. I think everyone will be very, very impressed. I think you'll be letting people down.
I've spent my life letting people down. I'm not about to change the habit of a lifetime, Daniel. We'll leave
Come on, have a go.
No, we'll leave that just for the time being. I'll look into it.
But Daniel wasn't taking no for an answer. He'd arranged for his friends on the stunt team to take me down into the actual tank where the scene was filmed. And they took me through some of the basic techniques that the cast had mastered. I was only in the water for half an hour, and not only were my eyes sore after that short time, but I was genuinely shattered. And I wasn't even acting in a movie. It was a fantastic experience, which gave me an insight into the awesome achievement of everyone involved. After the break, find out how an ordinary school day turned into superstardom for one lucky teenager, and Harry comes face to face with his evil enemy, Voldemort. See you then. Welcome back. We're behind the scenes of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. In a few moments, Harry's greatest challenge, meeting Voldemort.
Now, as we've already seen, there are a number of new faces in the Goblet of Fire. But if you thought that being a drama school kid was the only way to get a part in Harry Potter, you couldn't be more wrong.
Who's that? Yeah! This is the best secret in the world!
When looking for an actor to play the part of Durmstrang's Tri-Wizard champion Victor Crumb, the casting directors made an extensive search of Eastern Europe. By chance, they eventually found what they were looking for just a few miles down the M1 in North London.
We have a registration in school, both morning and afternoon, and I was late for the afternoon registration, which isn't...
Is that a usual thing?
Well, sort of, yeah. So I was late, and I was rushing across the main building in the school, and the casting director happened to be there at the same time, and then she saw me, and she asked me to come to audition.
And he either misunderstood or thought they can't mean it, and had not attended the audition.
I got a phone call, which was a bit of a unhappy phone call, saying, "Oh, why didn't you come? You know, it's important. You should be here."
But they showed me the raw tapes, the tape that they do of absolutely anybody. You know, you've got 15 seconds to say your name, your age, and where you live, and actually very often you can tell from that. And he looked very interesting.
I saw Mike new, and he made me feel so home. You know, I was so relaxed and everything. The camera was there, so it was my first time being filmed properly. And I happened to be the chosen one.
It's him, Victor Crumb.
And Stan's not the only one with a fairy tale story.
Well, my dad was watching telly one day, and he seen an advert for the role of Cho Chang. And so he just suggested, maybe we should go down and give it a try. But then when I got down and I seen the length of the queue, I thought, oh, let's just go shopping, right?
How long was it?
I don't know, it must have been about a mile or something.
In those sessions, there are always, there's lots of choice, and they're all terrific.
So we queued for ages, and when we got there, I was only inside for about 5 minutes.
And there was this one little thing that was special about her, and that was that there was this lovely late Scottish accent that came out of this perfect Chinese girl's face, and that was just too juicy to pass up.
When I first met the cast, I was like really starstruck.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, just, you know, seeing them on telly and then seeing them in real life, it's completely different. You know, they're all really down to earth, and it was just great because we're like best of friends now.
They will be the first to enter the maze, followed by Mr. Crumb.
But that first day on set, what was that like?
My heart was literally jumping out my body, and we were in the maze, which is probably, well, one of the best scenes in the film. We had to come around corners and meet each other and start fighting magically.
The maze is the final challenge in the Tri-Wizard tournament.
In the maze, it's kind of, the enemy is yourself. That's the interpretation which has been had in the film. And the darkness and the competition, it drives all the competitors a bit insane.
For Harry, the maze holds great danger as Voldemort's evil plan for him starts to come to fruition.
Without the boy... No! The boy is everything! It cannot be done without him, and it will be done exactly as I said. I will not disappoint you, my lord.
I love doing the graveyard scene.
I want you to look at me when I kill you!
Simply because it was a challenge.
That a boy, Harry.
And it was some of the kind of hardest acting that I've ever had to do. I just had to focus so much more, and it's about the concentration levels had to be even higher than they normally are. And also it was a chance to work with Ray Fiennes, which was great.
This film sees Voldemort's first appearance in full human form in the Harry Potter series. So is this one much darker than the rest?
We do see the death of a Hogwarts student for the first time, and it is the first time that we see Voldemort physically embodied. So there's an intensity about that, but it's also fun and generous and funny and moving. So I think it has all of that, but I think, yes, Voldemort is back, so there's an element of darkness, but the Dementors in the third Harry Potter were not exactly light and funny.
Is there anything you can tell us that no one else knows about the films? A secret?
In the third film, the rather pudgy Dudley Dursley from the first film had thinned out tremendously, so we had to put padding on him to make him seem a little bigger. And so too on the fourth film, Matthew Lewis doesn't really have buck teeth, and his ears don't look quite like that.
Well,
they are his ears, but they are arranged. Let's just say they're arranged a little bit differently.
I like that, the arranging of ears.
We have to arrange a lot.
Action!
This kind of arranging can catch out even an old hand, as director Mike Newell discovered when working with Alan Rickman, who plays Professor Snape.
I was looking at him one day, and I thought that you've got startling eyes, which are such a kind of vibrant shade of brown that there is almost red in them. And I said to him, "Good Lord, Alan, I'd never really noticed your eyes before." And he said, "Oh, haven't you?" And he gave me the lenses that were in. And of course, Snape has got weird eyes, and I simply hadn't ever suspected that.
And that's not all.
Michael Gambon leaves his street clothes on underneath Dumbledore's costume. Sorry.
Good day, champions. Gather round, please.
He doesn't call days. I don't blame him, because he's got a very wispy costume. That long thing wouldn't keep much of the cold out. On cold mornings outside, I think he's been known to have a tracksuit on underneath. I myself usually wear a black basque and stockings and suspenders, but that's a personal thing.
Come on, Ron! Your mother says breakfast's ready.
Are you daunted by the fact that millions and millions of people around the world know who you are and watch the films and care so much about Ron and Harry? And
yeah, I guess. A little bit, yeah. But I've never really sort of thought about it, to be honest.
Don't dwell on it.
No,
just get on with it.
Yeah.
When I'm not filming, I always go back to school. Actually, this is going to sound incredibly Hermione-like. I promise you, I'm not quite as boffy as she is, but I love school. I love school. I love being at school. I love being with my friends and playing sports and just everything that it has to offer.
Is it hard for you to lead a normal life, or relatively normal life?
Not really. There was only one occasion when I was in Disneyland once in Paris and I had a snood on. You know a snood. It's a hood, but it covers all your face other than your eyes. And I still got recognised on a roller coaster going at 40 miles an hour. Or however fast roller coasters go, I don't know. But it was very fast. And these two people in the seat behind me managed to recognise me. And I don't know how.
There is so much to say, so much to see, and we've very nearly come to an end, and they've nearly finished shooting as well. It really has been a genuine privilege to be here, and an amazing experience to meet the actors, to see the sets, to meet the animals. In fact, Hedwig, I really do think like we've bonded. Any chance you could do me a favour before we finish? Look at me when I'm talking to you. Hedwig, wait, could you go and get the dry cleaning? I thought it's supposed to be good, these birds. Anyway, I better clear off, because I know they're going to be using this set very soon.
And action.
OK, so 162 days, about 11 hours, 55 minutes, give or take 30, 35 seconds. They've been making this film, they've been shooting it. And this is the very, very last shot of the entire thing. So exciting. Everybody's desperate to get it right. They're trying to get it right. It's such a privilege to be here. It's so exciting, I can't tell you.
Will you please be expressing doubt and anxiety at what you see from the very beginning, OK? All right, here we go. Remember to keep the candle high. All right, let's shoot.
Stand by. Okay, still quiet, please.
Because of the technical complexity of the scenes and the time restrictions involved in working with a young cast, it takes more than twice as long to make a Harry Potter film as it does to make your average movie.
Hermione, when did you get here?
Just now, you?
Last night.
It's the last shot of the last day.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
A combination of relief, because, you know, it's and excitement that we're now moving forward to the post-production part of the film and seeing it all come together, which is really exciting. And obviously some sadness as everybody moves on. Fortunately, they're moving on for just a period of time because we'll be back for 5. But yeah, so it's, you know, at the end, it's sort of a threshold, the end of one moment and you're moving on to the next.
Excellent. Well, I'll let you get back to doing your important producery things, which I know you all do. But thanks for inviting us down. We're really chuffed we could be here.
Thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
Okay, take care.
Harry! Are you all right?
Hermione, bad dream.
Cut. Thank you. Now, can we have quiet, please? So what we did was, we did 11 months, we did 1,900 setups, we did 1,200 slates, and we didn't kill one another. And you're a lovely lot, and I will see you all again, and thank you very much indeed. God bless. Big kiss to you all.
Okay, that's it, the 4th film. They're finished shooting. They're moving on to the 5th already. They're all done.
Well done.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a bit sweaty. Dan, what's it like when you finally finish shooting?
Everyone was kind of going, yeah, we're finishing, fantastic. And I was like, yeah, GCSEs, great.